What is going on, YouTube? This is Acid Root. So I'm going to review Petey Plastic's 2014 album Monstrous. Now, Petey Plastic doesn't have an overabundance of albums, but he did at least drop this one after his 2013 project, which was called like Don't Do Drugs or something to that effect. I reviewed that back in February. Really hit album, nice taste of like some electronic, kind of similar stuff to Jeffree Star, just with a lot more low-key emphasis and a lot of hit kind of songs. It's about getting pretty tanked and that type stuff. This is a follow-up to that. It came out in the spring of 2014, and then plus there were some Petey Plastic EPs that came out in 2013. He kind of took a break for a while. He didn't really do stuff in like the mid-late 2010s, and if he did, I'm not really aware of it just because it's either so low-key that it disappeared or I just don't know where it is. But at least Spotify recognizes this album Monstrous in his Don't Do Drugs album from 2013. So that's just kind of the thing. There's definitely some hits on here. Basically, I liked 7 out of 8 songs on this project. It was that good. I mean, really the only song I didn't enjoy was just Bad Boys. And the reason for that was just because it was kind of like this kind of twangy kind of Southern electronic kind of song. It's not like Southern electronic is bad, but it just really sounded like something out of a Western. It just really sounded like something out of a Western movie, just with like an electronic sense. Didn't really suit that well. But that's about the only real song I didn't enjoy. So basically, I mean, I would talk more about this, but there's just not an overabundance of information out about Petey Plastic. I know he has a YouTube and he does do other things on his YouTube apart from music and stuff, but he kind of drops more singles. I know he did a song with Javon Monroe. I was hoping that that would have been on an album or something, but that was just kind of a spare single. But there's just not an overabundance of real like information as far as like an article. I mean, I looked on his Spotify profile and it seems like his monthly listeners is only about 170 per month. So that's 3 digits is pretty minimal. So it just really feels like I think he probably does make money off of his music, but I think he's kind of more underground and low key than some folks like something like, Garrett Ecstasy or someone like that. But I definitely think within the valve of that, this is still an excellent project. I mean, I really appreciate the excellence of this. This album's going to get a 10 out of 10 just because it's that good. This has some good stuff. I'm not sure if it has a single. I looked on Spotify to see if there were any singles or anything like that. I'm not really sure if there is like promotion for this project, but really the only real song that got over 1,000 plays 9 years later is just Lobotomy. That song has almost 2,000 hits, but apart from that, the rest of these haven't even garnered. Each of these other 7 songs out of 8 haven't even garnered like 1,000 hits. That's how low key this project really is. This is really kind of like super low key that I'm talking about here. But I'll go ahead and talk about the 7 songs I recommend out of 8, which is basically I talked about the only song I didn't enjoy, which was Bad Boys. So basically, I'm Just Trying to Fuck is kind of like a synthy nightclub bop meant for late night sessions, that type of stuff. Very straightforward, but it's a great hit. And by straightforward, I mean he just says throughout the song he's just trying to fuck, not trying to link up or anything else but fucks, kind of that sort of situation. So it's this kind of straightforward song. I like it though. I do like the emphasis of the song. It's just an overall kind of synthy kind of hit that's just great for stepping out kind of in a more electronic like 303 and like LMFAO sense, just with more raunchy lyrics and as far as that kind of goes. But it's good. I mean, it's a great song. Petey Plastic is definitely demon time music. That's definitely the concept. When you look after it and you see some of these, is as far as the emphasis of it kind of goes. This is definitely pretty monstrous, like this album says. It's definitely pretty monstrous demon time music. But speaking of monstrous, the title track Monstrous is a demon time highlight. Definitely feels like it's meant for late night. This is a real kind of, like I said, demon time kind of song. Has like this banshee screech on here in like the first 2 verses of the song. This really kind of makes, I mean, I can't see this song being listened to at like 9:30, 10:30, 11:30 in the morning when you're getting breakfast and brunch, going to Starbucks, going to Denny's, unless you're going to Denny's at like 1 a.m. or something like that. This is just meant for music between like the hours of 6 p.m. and probably like 5:30 a.m., something like that, something in that context. But this is Monstrous. The title track is definitely like an excellent demon time kind of song. Lobotomy is the most popular song off this project 9 years later. It's the only one that got closest to 2,000 hits or even registers that it's gotten plays at all. This one's just a really kind of groggy house party kind of jam. It's a nice electro kind of dance hopper. Definitely kind of like this one. Yeah, Lobotomy is just a very groggy kind of house party jam, just a very kind of spilly and just overall kind of sleazy and just gritty kind of house party kind of jam. Definitely like that one. This has a lot of sleaze towards it. This kind of late night, Friday night, Thursday night kind of sessions. A very nice electro kind of dance hopper, but I just look at the concept. This is kind of more kind of in the trenches kind of one where there's some definite ones like Creature of the Night and Drunk 80s hit, and some of those that kind of have like more commercial feels towards it, at least for PD Plastic to be able to step out and have some more kind of commercial radio ready single type feel. But Lobotomy is definitely like probably one of the sleazier house party cuts. It's a good one. It's definitely it's interesting. This is the most popular songs. It just feels like parties just permanently Friday for like the next 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 days or something like that. It's just an overall great one. Insane is like this really flittery kind of haunting night song. It's a very creepy night shift kind of song. Definitely has that kind of feels like something for like a night cruise or a nightclub highlights. Just that kind of concept. This one's a real kind of almost horrorcore like. This feels like bats in a belfry kind of scattering and that type of stuff as far as it kind of goes. Just a very flittery kind of eerie kind of creepy kind of song. Definitely like the concept of that one. Just an overall, this one's probably more made for the nightclub. Where I feel like Lobotomy was more of a house party song, and Monstrous was just kind of like a cruising out in the night kind of one. Just kind of night, just going places at night, kind of in between places, just stepping out and maybe just outdoors at the house or something. But I kind of look after it. I'm just trying to fuck is kind of a club song, but I feel like Insane suits the club more. And another one that really has some social vibes is Hit the Bong. Hit the Bong is a really superb one, but it kind of has like a regular feeling. This one's a little bit more regular than Insane. It has some social vibes. It's a nice smoke song and stepping out kind of song, but I also see it as kind of like a pretty standard and vanilla house party song. This one definitely works for like a house party vibe, kind of like Lobotomy, but this one's just more regular sounding, a lot more vanilla, just kind of within that context. And I mean, it can be kind of a nightclub song, but it's just a very basic one. So it's good that PD Plastic can even put out vanilla and basic kind of stepping out kind of songs as far as that kind of goes. Just a standard one. Drunk 80s shit really feels like Japanese game music. This really sounds like something out of the 80s, something like Mega Man or Final Fantasy, something like that. It's one of those type ones. It really has like a glitzy kind of synthy, really kind of sparkly, twangy kind of 80s sounding feel towards it. It's something ripped right out of 1984 or 1987 or something. It's a rave type song, very commercial, has like single ready kind of vibes about it. Definitely like the concept, but in the first verse, it gets kind of like a glitzy kind of synthy rave type bop. In the second verse, it kind of has the same feels like it does in the chorus with like the 80s kind of feels. Just an overall pretty good highlight to get PD Plastic. Definite good varietized hit to get out of him, so it's not just strictly like the swing of getting like these nightclub songs and dance songs is good, but it's good to have like another varietized type feel to throw in there as like something that can show him to have like something to kind of show him have variety and that type of stuff. So that's this kind of thing. And then Creature of the Night is really and then Creature of the Night's like a really glittery, kind of sparkling nightclub jam. This is about the closest I think this album really comes to like radio ready, apart from like drunk 80s shit. I would have to say that this song has like a lot of polish. This one's pretty much like just the song that you would probably first hear like when you get into like a homie's car or something like that, or a chick's car or something like that, and you kind of are getting ready to step out where you're not quite at the club, but things are getting ready to be like a great night. This is kind of like the entry song. This would be like, and it makes sense that this is the first song you hear because it's just kind of the one that's entry and introductory as far as saying that it's not the craziest song on here, but it has polish and it's definitely kind of, I mean, it's low key, and PD Plastic only gets like 170 like listens a month on Spotify, but it's still pretty radio ready in terms of that. And I think he does have more popularity. It's just purely the fact that I just don't think an overabundance of folks know him to that degree, and that's just only the concept. I mean, I think he probably does have shows where he gets like 150, 250 people there, something like that, something in that context. But it's just kind of, that's just kind of the valve behind it. So this is just a low key one, but it's definitely like the most kind of glossy and radio ready type song on here. I feel like Drunk 80s shit and Monstrous are some other ones that kind of have that feel. But this is kind of one that doesn't necessarily have to be at midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning. This could be at like 5:30. Creature of the Night could be at like 5:30, 6 p.m. This is kind of a kickoff song for things getting ready to happen. It's the most polished one. So in terms of that, me liking 7 out of 8 songs, yeah, this album's going to get a 10 out of 10. I definitely feel like it's that much of a highlight as far as that kind of goes. The social score will get a 10 out of 10 also. The social score of the album's going to get a 10 out of 10 also. I mean, this album does not have necessarily like a blue collar gem. I think it probably could have used that. That would have been like a nice spice for Petey Plastic to throw at us, is just like a blue collar song for folks who maybe have like another 2 or 3 hours of work, just something that just kind of tones down like the edginess, just something to kind of say, hey, I understand that you've still got a few more hours of work. Here's something for you in that type sense. But I like that this album is like a main Demon Time album, but I kind of feel like maybe it could have used at least one song to kind of do that. I mean, 8 songs on an album is pretty short, so I wonder why P Plastic only did 8 instead of like 10 or 11 or something. But I do feel like, I mean, in terms of like these night out and demon time kind of songs, he definitely has hit the bullseye pretty evenly. And that's a great thing to kind of have. That's about the only real minor request I really have, is just to get like some sort of blue collar makeshift song. Apart from that, this album's 10 out of 10 across the board, 10 and 10 social. In terms of the future, like PD Plastic dropped an EP somewhere in 2022, so that's another project I'll have to review. But after this, I only really see there being like 3 EPs, two in 2013, one in 2022. So hopefully there's some more stuff out and about. I'll just have to look for it and see what there is.